Welcome folks, FoodSta on Zindagi TV powered by Raka Cheese, and today is going to be something really different. Yep, I know it's a new week. We're here at Brew Bistro and we're starting off this week with a couple of drinks before we go into the food sector. So here comes the brewmaster Aleem. How are you doing?
Good, how are you doing?
Thank you for having us here.
Oh.
I mean, this is a first-hand experience for me. It's my first time in my whole life I'm going through this.
Well, you're at the heart of Big Five breweries.
Yeah.
Brew Bistro. This is the right place to be.
Super. So run us through. I'm all ears.
All right, so I'll take you a bit through the brewing process. So we're actually starting here at the beginning of the process. So this is where we mill the barley. So normally we import all our barley malt from Germany. We have 5 different types of malt, which are all laid out here. Everything from a pale malt to a chocolate malt to a caramel malt to a Munich malt.
Okay.
So basically, malt is the base product of making beer. And by combining different types of malt, we can create different types of beer, different flavor profiles, different strengths of beer, different color profiles, etc.
Wow, okay.
So the starting process is we take the malt in different combinations, we mill it into a coarse flour that looks like this.
Okay.
So you can see the flour is quite coarse.
So that's before and that's after.
Exactly.
All
yeah.
right.
So you can see how it is.
Okay.
So basically, once that step is done, we transfer it into this vessel, which is known as a mash vessel.
Mash vessel.
Yeah. So actually,
Wow.
we are currently brewing right now, so you can take a shot of this. So this is, your milled barley malt mixed with water, okay, heated at different temperatures, okay? And basically it creates a solution called a mash.
Mash.
So this process is basically, removing the sugars from the malt into solution. Yeah? And we need those sugars later on so we can ferment and then create alcohol, which I'll take you through. Yeah? So this is the second stage, which is called mashing.
Mashing. Okay.
So after this process, the mash is pumped into a tank called a lauter tun. Now the lauter tun is basically where we separate the outer part of the grain, which is called the husk, to create a clear sugar solution. Okay? So that's what happens in this. So the lauter tun has a bed where the husks are separated from the solution, and then that solution is pumped into a wort kettle. Okay? So the wort kettle is the stage of the process where we add the hops, and hops are basically what gives bitterness to the beer.
All right.
It gives you that aroma, that bitterness flavor to the beer that you're common to taste. So at this stage, the sugar solution called wort is boiled for about 90 minutes. We add hops at different stages. So now to get different aromas and bitters, we add different types of hops. So we import our hops from Belgium, from the UK, from the Czech Republic, to get, again, different flavor profiles in terms of aroma, in terms of bitterness, etc. Okay, so basically there's 2 main styles of beers, ales and lagers. So after the boiling part on the wort kettle, the wort is cooled through a plate heat exchanger. Depending on the style of beer, we cool it at different temperature. So lagers normally ferment cold, between 12 and 14 degrees, and ales ferment a little warmer, between 16 and 18 degrees. So it goes through the plate heat exchanger and then it's pumped into one of our fermenters. So our fermenters are down here. So we have 8 different fermenters. So once the product goes into the fermentation tank, we add the yeast through the top. So again, with ales and lagers, there are different types of yeast. So typically the difference between an ale and lager is the temperature it ferments. Ales are typically a little more fruity, whereas lagers are typically a little more bitter, clean, with a clean taste, and no fruitiness in them. So the product will ferment, again, depending on what style of beer it is, between 5 and 7 days. So after the fermentation process, the dead yeast is removed from the bottom of the tank, and then we drop the temperature to about 2 to 3 degrees, where the beer is then matured for anywhere between 3 to 4 days to 2 weeks, depending on the style of beer. So ales typically mature for 3 to 5 days. and lagers typically mature between 7 days and 14 days.
So you can get like how much do you produce on average now?
So every batch of beer that we produce is 500 liters.
Okay.
Each tank is 1,000 liters, so we do 2 batches in a day.
2 batches in a day.
Yeah, so it's 1,000 liters a day.
But the whole process, you say it takes about 9 days, 8
Yeah, the whole process takes about 10 to 14 days, depending on the style of beer.
Days, yeah.
And roughly, we can produce about 20,000 liters a month of beer. And that's what we're doing currently. We're producing around 20,000 liters of beer.
So what are you doing with all this beer, bro?
I mean, look, the beer industry is happening in Kenya right now.
Yeah.
I mean, people are loving beer. I mean, they're loving craft beer. So with us, we're a little bit different to the big breweries. Our beer is all about craft. So the difference between craft and commercial beer, it's all about the quality of the product. So for us, just like any product, the raw materials are super important. So we really go to an extra length to source the correct materials, So we bring all our barley malt from Germany, our hops from the Czech Republic, from the US, from UK, from Belgium. All our water comes from a borehole that's treated. So with us, the raw ingredients have to be perfect so that we can get the best quality product.
So your beer is exclusive to Brew Bistro, or you can give it to anyone?
I mean, we do supply. So we currently supply, to about 60, 70 places within Nairobi and outside of Nairobi.
All right.
And the demand for craft beer is definitely increasing, and we can see that appreciation for craft. Craft basically means that anything that's niche product, that's premium quality. And that demand for craft products is really increasing in the market. So we've seen that grow over the last 9 years, and we're actually in the process of opening another brewery or another brew pub by the end of the year. Because that demand is obviously increasing, and when you want to supply the demand, we also want to create new craft products and make it interesting and provide the consumer something different. After the fermentation and maturation process, the beer that we get normally is called green beer. That means that's beer that's quite young. After that process, to get a clear product, we filter the beer. So this is our filter press. So the beer is then filtered through this filter press to get that clean, clear beer that you normally see. So basically, what happens during fermentation is that sugar solution, that's extracted from the barley malt during the mashing process, is then converted to alcohol and carbon dioxide, okay? So, and that's where we determine the amount of alcohol in the beer. So, depending on the length of fermentation and the amount of malt that you put in the product, we can determine the amount of alcohol we want in the product. So typically our beers vary between 4.8% to 6.5%. So we have 5 main beers that we produce. So everything from a light ale to a Pilsner lager to a chocolate stout to an IPA, which is Indian Pale Ale, to a Belgian style double malt. And all our beers are, recipes created by myself. And the styles of the beer have been developed, by also kind of looking at what the market really wants, what does the consumer want.
Yeah.
And also each of the beers are distinctly different, because we want to provide a different quality product. We want to provide beers that are quite flavorful, that have different flavor profiles, etc.
So where did you actually go and study all this?
I've been brewing for over 20 years. So, for me, I'm just a passionate beer lover.
Okay. But it doesn't show though.
That's all I drink. At the end of the day, besides what people say, a little beer is actually very healthy for you.
Yeah, just a little, right?
So just a couple of pints a day, and that's just right.
Yeah.
You don't want to overdo it.
Yeah.
So, I've been brewing for 20 years. I've brewed in craft breweries all over the US, in Europe. Worked for big breweries, as well, all over West Africa.
Self-taught or?
No, I went to brewing school, so I did my master's in brewing and distilling in Germany. And then I worked for, quite a few years for different big breweries.
Yeah.
And then I moved back to Kenya about 10 years ago. I saw kind of this gap in the market for craft beer.
Yeah.
And I decided to set up Brew Bistro. And obviously the first couple of years were really difficult because people didn't understand craft. We only provide our beer in drafts, only in kegs. We don't bottle our beer. And mainly Kenya and East Africa is a bottle market. So the first couple of years, it was really hard to penetrate the market. But then when people started to understand our concept, understand our product, and kind of build a relationship with the whole concept and the experience, we've really now seen the business flourish over the last few years. We've seen a huge increase in demand. We're actually trying to keep up with the demand right now. And the company is now trying to expand and do more brew pubs, throughout Kenya and throughout the region. So after the filtration process, the beer is kegged in barrels. So these are 20-liter barrels. So we have both 10 and 20-liter barrels. So we supply all our beer in draft form, all in kegs. So basically the whole process takes about 10 to 14 days. So people who drink our craft brew either at our place or at our partner outlets could not be drinking a more fresh beer. Our beer has no preservatives, it's not pasteurized, okay? And so it's very fresh, premium. And we actually, when we brew, we follow the German purity law. So the German purity law, which is called the Reinheitsgebot, basically means that you only use malt, water, yeast, and hops to create beer. You don't add anything else in the beer. Yeah, so it's actually very pure, very organic product. Okay? But now we're at the end of the process. I mean, the only way to really try the product is to come by Brew Bistro or any of our partner outlets, try it out. And one thing you got to remember, it's strictly over 18, so drink responsibly.